Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're gonna build some U.S. glider troops using the Warlord Games U.S. Army sprue. The glider troops for the 101st, the 82nd, their uniforms were identical to just your regular U.S. Army troops on the ground. Okay, so what we're doing is we're cutting out the bases for the gliders. I'm going to need 30 bases because I have 5 sprues, and each sprue has 6 troops on it. So I'm cutting out this, and I'm going to go ahead and be back when I'm done with those. Okay, I've got them cut out, and then I pull out my mortar team, and it comes with its own base. We're going to put the metal pieces off to the side, throw this plastic away, and then what we'll do is we'll take our X-Acto knife and we will cut the burrs off of all the plastic bases. Trim the bases, basically cleaning them up. And once we get them all clean and straight, we'll be right back. All right, now what I'm going to do is take my X-Acto knife and we're going to trim the bottoms of the metal, right? We want them to be able to lay flat on the mortar base. And there is a little bit of flash along the bottom, or sprue lines along the bottom of the model, but overall the models are very well cleaned. They have a deep recess for the neck, but the bottoms need to be cleaned. Okay, so once I get all these bottoms scraped flat, we'll be right back. All right, now I'm using the DAP Rapid Fuse, as you can see here, to assemble the models. We're going to go ahead and put the mortar together. I took the bipod and the mortar tube, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue those together, and I'm going to set them on the paper towel because it'll hold the legs and the base of the model, the base of the tube, in place so that it'll give it time to dry facing in the direction that I want it to be facing in. Alright, so once we get this assembled, and I'm not putting the base plate on. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out all the bodies of the troops, all 30 of the torsos, and we're just going to set them off to the side. Alright, and we're cutting them out. We're laying them over here off camera on the left-hand side. And as I get them all cut out, we'll go ahead and be right back. Alright, now these models do have a little bit of burrs, and they have a few, very few actually, seam lines that I'll have to scrape off or cut off. And so I'm going through each model, trimming off the burr and any seam lines. There's really only a couple of them had seam lines down one of the legs, and they scraped off really easily. And once I get all of them scraped, I'll be right back. Alright, now that the mortar is dry, we're going to go ahead and put 3 drops of Elmer's on the base for the mortar, 1 for the base plate, and the other 2 for the bipod of the mortar itself. Alright, now once we get the base plate in position, I'm going to go ahead and put a little glue on the base plate so that when I glue the tube down, it'll actually glue to the base plate. Yeah, just put a little bit of glue there. And we put the mortar tube with its bipod mounted, of course, on the base plate and ensure that the bipods are in the Elmer's so that it'll stick to the plate. Now my fingers were starting to get stuck to it, so I decided to go ahead and use some tweezers because it makes positioning the mortar a lot easier. Yeah, so it's going to sit right there. And if you haven't really kind of noticed, I put the mortar tube close to the center of the base because if I want to, I can always put like some foliage or some rocks along the front, like the mortar was taking up position. Right now I'm putting the troops on, the crew, and trying to figure out like exactly where I'm going to put the crew. Basically just getting a visual plan, and then now I know where I need to put the glue on the base to get these guys to position properly. And we just put them on the Elmers. Remember that I am going to completely cover the base with Elmer's glue later because I'm going to put gravel also on the base. And while I do that, that's going to enhance the I guess the thickness of their bases, so it'll kind of disguise that. Okay, so right now I'm cutting out the weapons. We're going to start off with the BARs. The BARs all come in the exact same pose with the exact same left and right arms. I think the pose that they want them to be mounted in is with the BAR pointed up at a high carry, like high port arms. Because if you look at the sling, it hangs down towards the ground. Okay. Now, each sprue, every sprue comes with a BAR. I could have made 5 BARs, but that wouldn't go along with my force selection. But now, I always keep extra sprues. You never know when I might make some paratroopers or something and I need an extra BAR. So I just make sure that I keep all my extra weapons and things. Okay, so then we have to go through again and clean off any burrs that might have happened from the clippers. And as soon as I get all that done, we'll be right back. Alright, now I'm just going to randomly go through the bodies. Actually, I don't randomly go through. I pick and choose. I cherry pick. Now I'm closing up my Elmers because I realized I left it open. Okay, now you can position the left arm first. That allows you to line up the right arm on the shoulder and have the hand fit into the collar or the cuff of the arm. So you mount up the left arm, and it glues on pretty easily because it's a light part, and then you put the right arm in. And once you put the right arm in, don't drop it, but when you put the right arm in, the hand should fit right into the cuff of the left hand, and it dictates pretty much how your weapon is being carried based on where you position that left arm. So some are going to be higher than others, and sometimes they don't fit exactly right, so you got to kind of adjust where the arm positioning is. That's why, if you notice, I just popped that arm off. So now I'm kind of taking a look to see exactly how it should fit. I'm doing a trial fit, basically. And then where should I put that arm, because you want it to match up. And in this case, I decided, what the hell, I'm just going to go ahead and mount the right arm on. That way it'll fit perfect, and then I can just put the left arm on. And I decided I was going to use a tweezer to do it because of the size of the part and where the glue is being these BARs were giving me a little bit of a trouble. On most of the Warlord Games models, the arms are positioned in a way that you can have the weapon raised high or low or left or right, and the arms seem to fit pretty good. So as soon as you get all well mounted, I'll be right back. There's the 3 BARs right next to the mortar. And now we're going to go ahead and mount our bazookas. Now I cut out all the bazookas. Well, I'm only going to build 2 bazooka teams. I figured, well, I looked at the army list and that's all I'm allowed to have. So I decided to max out the bazooka teams because later I can just add men to the squads. I don't have to worry about the bazookas because I already got the maximum selection. I had 1 kneeling and 1 standing. Now with the bazooka teams, you need to also have a loader. And with this sprue, it comes with a left hand with a rocket, and it comes with a right hand carrying a rifle bag or an equipment bag, like a jump bag. And I'm not sure why Army Infantry would have this, but it seems like it would be a logical accessory to put on my bazooka assistant gunner, my loader. Okay, let me get these cut out, and I'll be right back. All right, now that they're cut out, the next step is, guess what? Trimming. Now, after I finish the trimming, I'm going ahead and try to figure out exactly how they're going to fit on the shoulder, where the arms are going to be positioned, what kind of pose I want them to be in, you know. And on this case, the collar, the shoulder has like a epaulet that sticks out over the arm, and I decided to get the gear and the arms to actually fit, I'm gonna have to cut that little epaulet off. It's only about 0.5 millimeter, but it was just enough to make the arm not fit flat, so I went ahead and just cut it off. You're not gonna see it. It's gonna be covered by the bazooka anyway, so no loss. Now, if you're familiar with bazookas, you'll know that they've got this pistol grip that the right arm is holding and he's ready to fire. But it also has a forward, what do you call those? A forward grip underneath the barrel. And you can kind of see it there on the bazooka that's laying on the cutting mat. But it has a pistol grip and a forward grip. The hand that the hand that they give you to use with the bazooka is not fully extended to reach that pistol grip way out there. It is actually cupped to rest immediately under the hand that is holding the bazooka. So the pistol grip in the back has both hands holding it. It's like double fisting it, which I think is pretty cool actually, because it kind of gives character to the marksman. But I wish they gave me an option to have another arm reach out there to the front of the pistol. See how it's cupped? See how their hands are, yeah, like that, underneath the back pistol grip? I mean, I think that's really cool and all, but I wish I had an option for an arm to reach out and grab the front pistol grip, or the front grip. All right, I think what I'm doing now off camera is kind of making minor adjustments to the angle of the bazooka so that it looked like it wasn't firing straight at the ground. It's kind of elevated up a little bit. And I'm not using that grip in the front. I wish I was. I wish at least there was one guy doing it. Or at least one hand on the sprue that did that, but there's not. And I double checked the sprue, that's what I'm doing now, to verify that there isn't some other hand, like a rifle hand or any other hand that I could like modify or cut to fit to make it look like it would hold the front grip, and there's just not one on there. All right, so now what we're doing is we're setting up the gunner's assistant, the loader. In his right hand, he has the rifle bag, and for it to fit properly, you got to put it way back, like it's behind his hip, and then so he's holding it backwards, and then his left hand is just holding a rocket. Just out. Unfortunately, I'm off camera, and I apologize for that. But see, there's the bag. I'm putting it also on one of the kneeling guys because I want a kneeling bazooka with a kneeling loader, and then I want a standing bazooka with a standing loader. And the rocket hand, you could put pretty much in any configuration that you want. I have it out in front of his body like he's ready to hand it off or put it into the bazooka. But he's more of a casual, like around his waist, he's holding the rocket. Yeah. All right, when I get the next ones done, we'll be right back. All right. We got the standing bazooka done. You can see him there in the top left, and the standing assistant. Now what we're doing is we're going to just be cutting off all the submachine guns for the NCOs and the officer. Now the set does come with one grease gun. I decided to use a grease gun just as a variety. And then there's the rest are all Thompsons. There's no rules changes for grease guns versus Thompsons in the bolt action game, so it doesn't matter which ones you use. But there were grease guns issued, not in large quantities. So I decided, you know, what the hell, let's go ahead and use one. Now remember, I have 3 squads, so I needed 3 NCOs. Now my army list could include additional submachine guns, but I decided just to go with 1 so you could easily identify who the NCO was. So I have 3 NCOs. Then I have the lieutenant, so there's a total of 4 submachine guns. Once we get all them cut out, we'll be right back. All right, now that they're cut out and trimmed, let's go ahead and attach them to some bodies. Now, I did a thought that I could take these bodies with their legs and glue them to the bases first and then attach weapons to them afterwards, because then it would be like a stable platform. But I decided against that. And the reason why is because some poses, depending on what arms you put on and what weapons you put on, the weapon's going to stick out or extend from the body a certain way or a certain distance. And by putting them on the base after the rifle is already on the body, you can more centralize the model on the base so that you could so the rifle doesn't extend too far past the actual base itself. Okay, so he's got it kind of as a hip carry. One of the reasons why you do that on that Thompson, not this one, but the previous one, is because of the sling position. That's just a carrying it, ready to fire it. You know, just a normal old Joe. I think that's our lieutenant, actually. And you can see the one that's right above that one by the bases. He's got a arm with a helmet in his hand. Just as added flavor. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, well, let's do that, and we'll be right back. All right, now there's another one. It's another Thompson. The next thing I kind of wanted to point out is the medic bag. There's like an over-the-shoulder satchel, and I'm going to treat that as the medic's bag. It could be a demolition charge. It could be a lot of different things, but I think that is actually supposed to be a medic bag. So we're going to make a medic, and he's going to have a 45 in his hand. There's a little bitty piece right there. I took his arm with a guy with his just a hand, and I'm just snipping the hand off. Snip. And then I'm going to use the X-Acto knife to kind of straighten or flatten that area at the end of the arm. And then I have another hand, comes on the sprue, a hand with a 45 in it. And then I'm just going to glue that on the end of that arm so that I will have created a medic with a extended right hand with a pistol in it. And I need to trim it a little bit more because it still had like a rounded edge. So I'm trying to straighten it, making it flat so that the hand with the pistol will sit flush against it. Yeah, the hand with the pistol is super small. Probably should have used the tweezers, but I'm okay. And then you just got to hold it in there for about 15 to 20 seconds and for the glue to kind of grip it, because this rapid fuse actually dries fairly quickly. You just got to be careful not to touch it with your fingers because your fingers will glue straight to it. All right, when it gets glued on, we'll be right back. All right, that should be done. See the little 45 in the hand. And we're going to let that sit and dry for a minute before I attach it to a body. All right, now I've attached it to the body, and I've also attached a satchel over his left shoulder. While attaching it, the pistol kind of slipped a little bit, and now it almost looks like he's holding it like a gat, like he's holding it at a 45-degree angle. It is a 1945, but he's holding it at a 45-degree angle. A 1911 45 caliber held at a 45. I don't know what I'm saying. All right, so now I've decided to, now that everybody's got their rifles, they've got their submachine guns, their pistols, their BARs or bazookas, whatever they're carrying, I'm going to start gluing them to their bases so that they're evenly positioned on the base. So the rifles or their submachine guns, or if they're in a running pose, I'll mount them further back so that the base will be able to protect the model as much as possible. And what I do is I just put a couple of drops of glue on the bottom of the boots, the parts that are actually touching the ground, and then I will position them on the base. Now you can see how far back I've got this guy positioned, but that's because he's leaning forward and he has a Thompson in his hand. There it goes. And so notice how fast that glue sets. Love it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. All right, now in this step, we're going to cut out the heads to glue onto the bodies. Now, to be honest with you, I just went through the sprues and just started cutting heads out. I wasn't bean counting. I started with all the heads with nets. I figured I would do all the heads with nets first because I really like the netted helmets. Actually, I think the smooth helmets give a little bit of flavor too, but I wanted them to be glider troops, and I wanted the glider troops to look kind of like paratroopers in a way, so I wanted to do the netted helmets. Now, that's going to leave some helmets to be smooth because there's not enough nets. So I started to think I'm going to give the officers and the bazooka teams and the medic the smooth helmets. Now there is this one soldier, he's carrying his helmet in his left hand. Now that guy needs the head that has the field cap on. So there is a head with a field cap, and so I made sure I found him and cut it out, and then I started cutting all the netted helmets out. And then after that, I decided I was going to cut some of the, well, to finish it out, I had to cut the smooth helmets out. Now a couple of the guys with the smooth helmets actually have glasses on. I thought that was a cool touch. And some of the guys with the netted helmets and some of the guys with the smooth helmets have their chin straps undone, dangling off the sides of their helmets. Oh, good. I wanted those. And then there's other helmets that have the chin strap strapped across the front brim of the helmet. I wanted those too. I wanted it all. So I just started cutting, just started making piles. Okay, so once I get all these piles, then we'll be right back. So now we started mounting the helmets. There's the guy with the field cap on. Yep, he has a field cap and a helmet in his left hand. Just making sure everything's looking right. Yeah, and then you can get a close up, see him. If I can get this thing to focus. There it is. And then I decided halfway through or partially through the helmet head process that I wanted to form 3 squads. And then I said, you know what, with these 3 squads, I can put 3 different types of helmets on these guys to differentiate which squads are which. I was thinking, because they come with 2 types of nets. They come with the fish net, which is this really wide 3 or 4 inch gap nets on the helmets. And then they have these real type hose type nets on the other half of the helmets, which are these really fine nets that might be only 1 inch gap between the nets. And I figured, okay, I'll do the 1 inch gap nets, the hose nets on one set of helmets, and I'll do the fish net on another set of helmets, and then I'll do the smooth ones on the 3rd squad. Well, that didn't really work out perfectly. Some of the helmets have, like I said, the chin straps dangling. So I said, you know what, I could put all the helmets that with the dangling chin straps in one squad, and that didn't work out right either. So truly, it's kind of a random selection of helmets. And that's fine. That's kind of the way I was anticipating it anyway, and that's why you see all the helmets in a big pile. See, there's my 3 squads, and then I said I'm going to set them up by helmet type, and I'm going to make sure I got a BAR in each group. I want to make sure I got a squad leader in each group, and blah, 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 but that didn't actually work that way. All right, so once I get all the heads glued on, then we'll be right back. All right, now I cut out some accessories like belt pouches and backpacks and canteens and butt packs and things like that. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm taking the submachine gun magazine pouches and I'm gluing them onto the waist of the NCOs and the officer. And then I'm also doing butt packs and backpacks and canteens. So once I get all of those done, you can see the pile of them over there on the paper towel. But as soon as I get all that done, then we'll be back. All right, this is actually the next day. I primed it using a bright yellow wheat color, and now I have it primed this Rust-Oleum dark taupe, right? This dark taupe. That's actually the paratrooper uniform color. I was going to use the wheat color, and then okay, you can see there where he's reloading the magazine into the grease gun. You can take a look at all of these, but that color was too light. I knew it was going to be too light, and I was going to wash it down to bring it down, but it just didn't bring it down far enough. You got the little helmet. You can see the helmet straps on the inside of the helmet. I wonder if I'm going to get in there and paint that. There's the canteens, the bayonets, entrenching tools on the rucks. Now the rucksacks or the backpacks that I put on these guys, I used and there's the wide netting on this guy. I used the entrenching tools with the T handle because I thought that looked cool. And I'm kind of cherry picking. I'm not going to do all of them, but okay, you can see this guy's got the BAR and the BAR pouches, and I had to put the canteen on his rucksack. But yeah, I went back in after I did the yellow and the wash, and then had to repaint a second coat using the dark taupe, which I think is a much better color for the jacket. In the next video, we're going to paint these guys up, but you'll see that I'm not going to touch the jacket because that's the color of the jacket. I will put a wash on it, which will bring out all the details of the jacket, but you're going to see the painting is going to go so fast because I won't have to paint the jacket. And okay, and that rifle there, I noticed, was not a Garand, and it's not the carbon. It's actually it looks like a Springfield. And then there's the carbine with the little magazine. Now he's an assistant gunner because you can see I added BAR magazine pouches on his hip, so I'm using him as an assistant gunner. Yeah, yelling. Ah. Now, about 1/3 of the canteens had an attached bayonet. Okay, now on this base, you notice I put a backpack and a canteen right there, and I put a backpack and a map pouch on that one because I wanted to add a little bit more flavor to these guys because they don't have backpacks. Yeah. There's the bazooka guy with his hands cupped. Oh, there's some grass or hair or something there. Something going on with his shoulder there. I'm just gonna leave it as like I might even paint it up like a torn uniform. Just take advantage of whatever I'm given. And then there is the other bazooka. And look at, he's wearing his glasses. That way, if he doesn't hit anything, you can blame it on the guy not having good eyesight. And then there's like the standing loader carrying the rocket and got the bag over his shoulder. And there's the kneeling one. Now I tilted this guy's head like he's afraid the bazooka's going to launch, and he doesn't want to get backblast in his face. And this is the officer. You know, I put a pistol holster on him. I put a map case, and I gave him a butt pack, so he doesn't have the actual backpack. And there's the medic running, you know, and that got the pistol grip kind of turned to the side. You can kind of see the light yellow underneath, and I'm not too worried about the lower half of the model being the wrong primer because the lower half I'm actually going to be painting. And there's the guy just aiming down the sights. All right, guys, well, see how the sling is hanging down low? Okay, well, all right, guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this construction tutorial or preview. And what I'm going to do next is paint these guys up. that might be in tomorrow or the next day, because I've actually got a meeting for another game tomorrow night. So we might not be doing any painting, but we should have a game on Thursday actually. All right, so I'll see you then, and don't get pinned.